in Israel or younger children want to learn in elementary schools have to pay tuition. So that money that you will give, and I'm not charging any specific fee for the books either. So that'll be a fun day, maybe in a week or two. Anyway, what was I saying? Books.
I don't understand what Americans say.
That's right. So mitzvahs 8 through 28 in the negatives are all about staying away from foreign religions, foreign culture. These are 20 or 21 mitzvahs that are applicable today. The sum total of mitzvahs involving the Jewish people staying far away from a different culture or a different religion, be it Christianity or Islam or any religion for that matter, is a mitzvah. Sum total is actually 51. 51 mitzvahs, right? Of those 51 mitzvahs, right, it's 51 mitzvahs. Of those 51 mitzvahs, 49 of them are thou shalt not. You're not permitted to do this, you're not permitted to do that. If you'd like to take a quick look at the list, open up to the table of contents. Take a look at it's on page XIX, actually. You'll see some of the things that are discussed. To entertain no thought that there's another God. To make no idol to worship. Make no idol to be worshipped, even for a goy. You can't, if you're a Jew, you can't make crosses. You should not bow down and prostrate to an idol. You should not worship the idol, not swear in the name of the idol, nor lead a town astray and try to give them false worship. Eat or drink nothing from an offering to an idol. That's where wine comes in the problem. We have to have kosher wine. Not to turn one's attention to idolatry. That's something like number 16. Not to turn one's attention to idolatry. But basically what's saying is, don't even think about it. Don't consider it. Don't look at it. Don't look what's right in your face, especially in this holiday season. Have no benefit from any decorations. Is it permissible to have an Xmas tree in your house? Obviously it's not.
Or a cornucopia.
I'm sorry?
Cornucopia for our Thanksgiving. It's like the horn of plenty, sometimes they call it.
Oh, okay. Have no benefit from an idol, not to intermarry, not to have mercy on idol worshippers. That means if you know a person who you don't go out of your way to give them any favors or such a person. Not to follow number 21, not to follow the fixed customs of the heathen. See that? Number 21. Let's turn the page to that page. Page one, I think it's 117. Yeah.
Isn't it? It seems to me absurd. I'll use the word absurd. That here's discussion of idol, and it says, "Do not worship," and so forth. It's almost as if it has some power. And my understanding is that to even speak that.
How many
is
Jewish people
wrong.
visit psychics?
I don't know.
No.
I mean, that
How many Jewish people hold on to rabbit's foot? How many Jewish people want to fold with clovers? You know any of this stuff? You know none of this stuff? There's all these show good luck charms,
yeah.
right? And believe in all sorts of other sorcery. Good morning. You can sit right over here. In fact, you can bring one of those chairs.
My point is, it's even given, the enumeration of tasks.
You're right there, honey.
The enumeration of these tasks is giving a recognition.
Correct. But the war considered of power.
Okay.
weren't considered significant at the time. So now, at the time, everyone really was hot and bothered. They ain't hot and bothered. It's all the same thing. What are we hot into? What's going on? What's the prevalent culture? Now, let's say you were there just well, and it was a Jewish government. So, yeah, no problem. I mean, I remember going to Shiva there as well. Except when it passed, and I didn't even know. In fact, guess what? January 1st passed, and I didn't know this was a new year. That's the thing, because you're really just totally out of touch with this nonsense. But what's also part of the nonsense? Football, Super Bowl. And now, we all like sports and stuff. And you know me, I'm a sports freak. But the truth is, again, you go. I took my son to a basketball game when it was, about 10 or 11. And we were watching the game, having a grand old time. And then maybe at the end of the first half, out come the cheerleaders. I got my 11-year-old looking at these girls. Right. I feel real embarrassed. So you understand that there's a whole lot out there that's really, really garbage. And it gets worse and worse, a whole lot worse than it was when my son was 11, right? And we're trying to say, stay far away from it as possible. So let's take a look at this mitzvah here, mitzvah number 21 of the negatives on page 117, not to follow the fixed customs of the heathens. 21. You got it? Scripture says, Torah teaches, in their statutes or laws or customs or whatever, you shall not walk. The source is the third book of the Torah, Vayikra, chapter 18, verse 3. One is not to emulate them in any way of dress that is distinctive for them, nor let the locks of the hair grow. Now, nowadays, I mean, they're in hairstyles. When I was growing up, was the pompadour, it's a slick back, oily hair, and of which I'm guilty. And I think I had a better hair than Elvis Presley, frankly. But then of course came the long hair, the Beatles hair, right? And then came and nowadays it's where they cut this off and they leave this on. Insanity. I mean, really. So I guess I'm speaking from a subjective perspective. Maybe I'm not fair, but reality is that whatever they're doing, we can't. That's what I'm saying. Now they dress. So they dress. Well, let's put it this way. I mean, there are many nice ladies that are not Jewish out there that go to work smartly dressed with a skirt or dress or probably. And instead, many men go with a suit and a tie, white shirt. So we're not permitted to do that. Well, of course not. So basically, what we're going to learn here is that the word usage here is called chok. What's a chok? There are many different kinds of laws we have. One is spooky. Chok is a kind of law that's not really makes a whole lot of sense. Now we have some that don't, and we accept them because of our absolute belief in Hashem. One of the rules that don't make a whole lot of sense is to isn't kosher. I mean, this piece of chicken is this piece of chicken. One's kosher, one's not. They both look the same. They both taste the same. They're both just as healthy. If somebody accused the kosher one not being as healthy, perhaps. The point is that that's not a sense of reasonable. I mean, it's just Hashem said so in the story. So once we get an idea what a chok is, now along comes a goy with his kind of chok. The question is, can you listen to that? The answer is no. Why? Because if something doesn't make sense, and if it's from Hashem, I understand. But if something doesn't make sense, and it's some dumb, stupid, foolish guy came up with it, why in heaven's name would I listen to it? So if in fact, let's say, they came up with the rule that you should stop at the red light and you go at the green light, that makes a whole lot of sense. So I follow those rules. I pay my taxes. But whether or not I should do something silly, like for instance, nonsensical. Like, I mean, fireworks on July 4th. It's a very nice thing to have a flag and to show patriotism. In fact, to the contrary, today with all these flag kneelers and the idiots like that, of course you want to show your patriotism to the country. But it's something silly, like having a tree in your house with stockings on. Well, here's a great one. We have this holiday. It's a beautiful holiday. It's called. We like to talk about death and skeletons and scary and Halloween.
Tax day? Oh, Halloween. Oh.
Nothing about it. Halloween. I once went trick or treating. I apologize. I went trick or treating one year, and one house, I knocked on the door. They actually gave me a trick instead of a treat. And they scared the living daylights out of me. I was 8 years old. I was so scared. Thank God I never trick or treated again. But this goes to show you that these are foolish things. Why we would follow them is wrong. The kind of haircut that's being described is absolutely one that is really wholly unbecoming. Now you'll say, well, the dress. Well, the dress code, I'd say it's really simplified for us in any event. Women that have sneakers and have to be respectable. But nevertheless, there are listening to rap music. I mean, really. And the lyrics of that rap music, really. So obviously, these are things that we should not be indulging in. So it continues to go, and it says, neither is one to shave the hair at his sides, leaving the hair in the middle of the head. Hey, look at that, which is called a crest. See that? He's got it right there. Khan wrote about this 100 years ago. Look at this. Neither is one to shave the hair in opposition to the face, from ear to ear, neither the long growth behind it. Whether there's any one of these things or anything similar is to receive whiplashes. If someone is close to the ruling circles of government and he needs to dress in their kind of clothes or anything like that, maybe that might be permitted. Because let's say a man is elected to be Jewish people. We once had a Jewish candidate for vice president, Joe Lieberman, or a Jewish secretary of state, or a Jewish, which we had once. I mean, some people, a Jewish mayor, Jewish governor. So you have to have, certain respectabilities and shall we say, respect for others, but to go into a way in which the foolishness of the things that are done. Someone once asked a question about if a Jewish student was graduating college, would he have to wear a cap and gown? And really, cap and gown don't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, it's the silliest thing I ever saw. And then they throw a cap on anyway. I mean, again, these are laws that you can't go into the ways of the God. Okay, fine. Talking about dress, talking about behavior, talking about holidays. So December 25th is out of the question? Obviously, right? No one's going to do that. I mean, that's not even a ways of the claim. That's down and out, straight out of a Azara, straight out of idolatry. Okay. How about January 1st? Here's a great custom. Let's all go and get drunk on the night of December 31st. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? That's a great question. So I'll tell you what's wrong with it, but I'll also tell you what's right with it. You tell me you won't get drunk. It's important. We agree. It's important. Two rabbis agree. Okay. But January 1st has absolutely no meaning at all. In fact, January 1st is the new year in the Gregorian calendar. What is the Gregorian calendar? It's named after a notoriously anti-Semitic pope named Pope Gregory. He came up with this calendar. Why would anyone want to even attach himself to this calendar to the new year of January 1st? But then you'll say, what about the parades? Okay, so again, what we define, what we develop here is what we call a realization of what is out and out contrary and versus what is benign. For the most part, Thanksgiving is benign, for the most part. So if a person wants, Ramesh finds the rule very simple. If you want to get together with family, that's okay. If you want to eat turkey, that could be a problem. Unless you like turkey. If you like turkey, then fine. But if you're eating turkey, because that's the custom of the day, that's inappropriate. Because we don't have such a custom, and it's not any day for us, as I said. And of course, then the question arises, huh?
Rosh Chodesh.
Oh, came out with Chodesh. So
Call it Rosh Chodesh.
this year, actually, back here, came out with Chodesh. And one year, many years ago, Rosh Chodesh came, actually.
And Hallel.
Right.
Yeah.
It was a whole bunch of stuff. But I think that again, the idea of learning to separate oneself, which is what the mitzvah is trying to accomplish, is an extremely significant mitzvah and one that needs to be adhered to. I can't begin to tell you how many fellas who came to my class, Israelis, that had these goofy haircuts. And the tragedy of them was that they cut the payout. The thing that makes us different is the payout. So now the Hasidim, they make it longer and longer, and they twirl it and so forth, which is kind of cute. But I mean, you gotta have something there. You gotta have sideburns. They cut off the sideburns. You're a guy. You're a guy. How far should it go up? This to the ear. Because if you're gonna have this, they all have this bald thing these days. Everyone cuts all the hair off. Right? So then you have, at least from here to here, some degree of payout. Payout, which was payos, which is not only a custom of Hasidim, but of course a mitzvah, at least to have some sideburns for the men, was also a very popular custom in Yemen, in the country of the Temanim. And they were called simanim. Simanim means signs. These are my signs. This proves who I am. This is my Judaism. Believe that. They really felt that way. That this was, now, okay, you might wear a yarmulke and then the word distinguished dress. But then again, in this kind of distinguished dress, that we have become distinguished on simply because of the fact that we are so welcome. Come make yourself comfortable. So, just because you're in a zone where you want to because we do what we do in any event, and frankly, in the world of today, we'd be noticeable in any event. Now, I might not be noticeable, say maybe for the beard, maybe let's say, and there were many that didn't have beards for many years, wore suits. And they looked like everybody else in the 50s and 60s. We went to baseball games with a suit. Today, you barely wear anything. I mean, you go on an airplane, you think you're at the beach. I mean, so and certainly in the situation of today, we are definitively distinguished. You can clearly cut it. You can make it. I mean, I can walk through through the airport and see a fellow Jew or a man or woman. He's fine. People come up to me all the time. Oh, hello, Rabbi. I'm not a rabbi. I'm a Jew. I look like a rabbi. I look like a Jew. That's how a Jew. And that's why, again, talking about the holidays, talking about Thanksgiving, various things. What about Xmas in terms of, let's say, your office is having a Xmas party? So if it's 3 days before the 25th, it's permissible to go because it's considered a seasonal party. Anywhere near the proximity of the 25th, 23rd, 24th, 25th, or 22nd, 23rd, 24th is forbidden. You can't go to that party. I really never had much of a challenge with that.
It reminds me of 3 days before Pesach, where we took in the animal.
Correct.
That was theirs.
Right. That may be a similarity, but I think the issue really was that you don't identify it as a holiday party if it's 3 days removed. That was the key.
Yeah.
But I think what you really wanted to sense that participation, and you look out, you stand out, oh, he's Jewish, or she's Jewish, amongst the rest of the crowd. You look different, you are different. So the only time it ever came to me an issue was when I was doing my rehab at the gym. And this gym that did rehab, they had this kind of party. And for years I didn't go, because it was too close to the 25th. 1 year, it was, let's say, the 21st or something, and I was able to go. But they all knew and they all get the message real clear. You want to be nice, you want to be respectful, you don't want to be rude, but you have to know that you're different and to identify differences. And many, many Jewish people are frightened of that because civilization has always been a goal for Jews. Hispanics come over to America, they don't want to learn English. Hispanics come over to America, they don't care whether they become citizens. Hispanics come over to America, they don't care if they keep their own culture, keep themselves. Now, in a way, while it might not be completely American, but there is a value to what they're doing because they want to preserve their culture. What's wrong with that? You should learn from them. If our culture says such and such, then we should be doing it. And if our culture doesn't, okay, it's good. It's a good idea to learn English. Hispanics that don't learn English is, what are you doing?
I don't know, kids visit.
Oh, man. Look who's back from the wild wind. Let's talk about it. Give me sit over here. Bring it here. Gee, I don't know what walks in. This is ranch gentrification. Anyway, you have a question.
This year, Hanukkah falls, 25th is the last day of Hanukkah this year, so if you have a holiday party that's within like Hanukkah.
And what day does it come out?
I think the 25th is the 8th day of Hanukkah.
What is it, December? All right.
Yeah,
That doesn't do with us. We're
but can
fine.
we still like?
Absolutely.
holiday
We
party?
don't have to curtail ourselves for that.
Mhm.
But we can't be involved with it or participate in any event. And so we have to maintain that separation. And that's what we're trying to achieve over here. And I say, yeah, go ahead.
I would like to, when you spoke about observing another culture
Correct.
and learning from it, would I be permitted, and I'm thinking, would I be permitted to go to a museum, let's say a science and history museum, looking at specific displays, reading things and if I kept my head straight, for the purpose of saying, this is how that culture kept themselves.
On one condition.
I want to get.
That is permissible.
Yeah.
On one condition, that it does not involve a theology or worship.
Yeah.
If I want to learn American culture, that's well. If I want to learn Christian culture, that's right. If the two coincide, I get involved with that.
So in other words, that would be my perspective in looking at it.
But it's not permitted to entertain or even consider or think or study about the origins of Christianity.
No.
Or the beginnings of Islam. These are issues that we.
Like you had mentioned, I'm thinking like the Spanish culture, and we get the Spanish.
They often be on there used to be a radio show called Religion on the Lawn.
Right, I remember.
Right? Yeah. And Carol Hemingway was the moderator.
ABC.
ABC. So they offered me to go on the show with the priest and what are they called? Imams or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, I said, no, I can't do it. I started pulling up. I respect their religion, respect their right to whatever they want to do, but I'm one of the three major religions. No, I am the religion. So, I mean, we studied hard enough to figure out the truth. Avram Avinu spent 37 years trying to figure out what's right and wrong in the world. And when the foolishness of indulging and going backward is insanity. And so that's why there are these many mitzvahs involved in this. And I wanted to take a moment to discuss this this issue. I also wanted to discuss today a partial issue. And the reason I wanted to discuss it is because I didn't get a chance on Thursday. And this partial issue is pretty definitive. This partial issue also deals with Jews and non-Jews. And frankly, this parsha, the next parsha, and the third one after, that's Toldo yesterday, Yetze next week, and Vaishlach the week after, will deal extensively and historically with the origins of anti-Semitism and Jew hatred. And for all those of us that are thoughtful enough people to concern ourselves with it, not just because it's a mutual survival for us, obviously that will be enemies, but also because what possesses people to do something crazy? What possesses people to be filled with hate or anger? How do people get that way? And we go back to the very nature of who people are. What did God create? We talk about it oftentimes as seeing an evil person and saying, I mean, I know I look at an evil person, but I won't even look at pictures of Nazis. I don't even look at it. What possesses persons to do such, to be created in the image of God, a human being, not just the flesh and blood, but the soul inside, and to deteriorate such rottenness, such evil. And of course, the reason I said it this week is the begins this week, because this week of Torah is created the two arch enemies, or born two arch enemies, Yaakov and Esau. And they're born from the same mother and the same father. Got the same upbringing. One becomes as evil as you can get. And the other has to fight for his life. And so you have that sense of the twins being born, to Yitzchak and Rivka, and to follow the whole procedure through and to see where it leads in terms of not only Yaakov becoming heroic, step up to the plate, but also really not wanting any form of confrontation whatsoever, and Esau being a person of absolute violence. So, in order to understand this from its origin and beginnings, we have to understand that we have a very interesting shidduch, very interesting couple. It's called Yitzchak and Rivka. And let's discuss for a moment their shalom body, their personal. How did husband and wife get along? How did that? For a starter, there wasn't a whole lot of dialogue between the two. I mean, with Sarah and Avraham, well, Avraham said told Sarah, let's go to Eretz Yisrael. Sarah told Avraham, get rid of Yishmael. Avraham said to Sarah, look, maybe you'll pretend to be my sister over in Egypt. There was constant, shall we say, working together to the point where it says they traveled to Eretz Yisrael 3 parshas back with the souls they had made the Haran. Who were these souls? Who were they? They were the people that they had worked on and taught and converted to monotheism. These are the people that they try to save from the evils of the society. And of course, they left. They're not going to, by God's command, Eretz Yisrael, they're not going to leave these people behind because they made them. Who made them? Means I'm now your mother and your father. Talmud teaches mother and father bring the child to this world, but the Rebbe brings you to the next world. He teaches you Torah. He's another additional parent. Talmud teaches oftentimes that the honor you owe a Rebbe may be superior to the honor that you owe a parent. And there's always that issue of realizing that that you become transformed by the Rebbe's teachings. particularly inwardly in the neshama and so on and so forth. Anyway, so, oh, thank you. So, Avram and Sarah worked on them together. The Avram with the men, with Sarah with the ladies, and Avram wants to be hospitable, calls upon his wife, runs to the to the kitchen, to the tent. Please bring some food for the three angels. There's always this constant working together. From the moment that Rivka meets Yitzchak, well, she's, as we talked about, admittedly a child. So she grows up, and she doesn't really become available for him to procreate with puberty until about 10 years later when she's 13 years old. At 13, they begin to have relations and they'll be working. And so at the end of 10 years, they push a panic button. How do we know this? Because Yitzchak, it says, was 40 when he married her. It then says he was 60 when the children were born. So that means he waited 20 years. That means 10 years they could not have relations, we understand. But 10 years after that, they tried, they got nowhere, and they pushed the panic button. Well, that's the same panic button that Avram pushed with our Sarah. They came to Israel with this promise they're going to have children, and they're back. And they waited 10 years, it says in the Torah, till Avram was 85, because he came to Israel at 75. And at 85, he had Yishmael, Sarah told him, hey, this is showing bias. Sarah, your wife tells you to take another woman in order to procreate, and the child will be ours, and you have to listen to me. And again, Avraham realized Sarah has a higher level of perception and a higher level of prophecy than he does. So he does what she tells him. And he has Hagar has a child. So it seemed that going to Hagar, you have to believe is a panic button. Why? You don't go out and find another woman just because you have a child for 10 years. But you have to understand, 10 years is a magic number. 10 years means that if you're not having children after 10 years, particularly in Eretz Yisrael, where you're supposed to be blessed with it, then could be some Talmudic scholars teach you should get divorced. It's not going to happen unless you want to adopt or whatever. So at the end of 10 years, Avram and Sarah in Eretz Yisrael find themselves without children. Panic button. What's a panic button? Should do something crazy. Like what? Like going getting Hagar and saying, Hagar, please have a child from Avram. What is the panic button over here with Yitzchak and Rivka? Well, they don't go and come up with the idea of getting a surrogate mother or another woman. And then, That's right. Yeah. And that's a panic button too. In other words, I know we all pray every day. But sometimes something happens in your life. You gotta pray with the soul. Everything inside your guts. This is a meaningful moment in my life. Hashem, please help. And the prayer is intense, and the prayer is powerful, and the prayer is every ounce of your body, an ounce of your soul. And there's no room for distraction. And they pray. They don't use the other idea that Avraham and Sarah did, because Yitzchak was too holy to have another room. Avraham was more worldly. Yitzchak could not. He became holy from the moment of that faith. He was held on the altar. He was like a sacrifice, and therefore he could not do that. So they pray, and they have a child. They have the two children, of course, and the problem also results again reading the parsha and seeing that we're concerned about the fact that we want to know who these children are. The name of the parsha, told them. What does Toldot mean? Toldot means children, right? Now, there is also a parsha called Ela Toldot Noach. But there doesn't call the parsha Toldot, it calls the parsha Noach. How do you know when to call the parsha by the name of the person and by the name of his children? Obviously, when the children are more important. We're going to learn that the descendants of Yitzchak, that's Yaakov and Esau, are far more important in contributing to world history than Yitzchak himself. And Yitzchak realizes that. He realizes himself as a conduit. My great father brought me into this world to serve the purpose of being a connector to the one who will build Israel, and that's of course Jacob. And Jacob's name is turned and changed into Israel. Correct? Okay, so Yitzchak realizes about himself. Yitzchak's a very introverted person. Yitzchak's the kind of person who was totally different than his father Abraham. The outgoing, bringing in guests, let me teach you about Torah, let me convert you, make your life better, right? Yitzchak has none of that. Yitzchak is this intensively powerful, quiet person who just has this sense of God about him. Of course, he loves Rivka. She brought him comfort, particularly after the loss of his mother. And he realizes she is destined to be the second mother of Israel. And so he deeply loves her, but is a very introverted person. Rivka, for her part, comes from the old home, the old town. Remember, Eliezer had to go all the way back to the old city to find her, correct? And by the way, we talk about Eliezer's prayer being so answered so quickly. How is it that Eliezer says to God, find me a girl who will give me the water to me and my camels? And also, that she should be the right one for my master, Yitzchak. And he finds out in discussion that she is a member of the family, that she is a granddaughter of Avram's brother, the one surviving brother back in Haran.
Yeah.
And so he's delighted with the success. He said, "Wow, we're going to have a great. This is the most wonderful opportunity." He says, and he can't wait to bring her back there as well. He brings her back. He brings in comfort, and they become husband and wife, physically at 13. And basically, it's the kind of relationship in which she's more of a doer. He's the holy man. She is there to provide for him, care for him, comfort him. He's got his job with Hashem. He's the holy remote leader. So there is a remoteness in that relationship of husband and wife. But the remoteness gets worse because the two of them, let's go back to the pregnancy. The weirdness of pregnancy. They pray, and she becomes pregnant. Yay, panic button worked. Prayer is just as good as any other effort, by the way, if not better. And so, he prays, they pray, have the children. Before they do, Noah says something very, very strange. The children are rolling around inside. Okay, that's strange. Right? Every woman goes through her pangs, and 9 months is the most easiest of months. But then it says that she says, "What is this? If this is so, what do I need this for?" And that's really a very strange statement. Why would a holy, righteous woman who knows that her role in life is to be children to the world be upset with the pains of pregnancy? You accept it. It comes with the territory, right? You know what you got to do. This is your job in the world. You know, you got this job, you got that job, whatever it is. It causes a certain, demands a certain self-sacrifice. That's what you're doing for Hashem. What's your problem, Rivka? But she says in some sort of resentment, what do I need this for? Im came lama ze anochi. Lama ze anochi. What do I need this for? But Caleb the Josh Hashem supposed to ask God. So there were pockets of religious people in those days. Very quiet, very small, quiet. Monasteries maybe. One of them was the name of Shem, who was Noah's remaining surviving son, who was a very righteous fellow. And there were a group of people that would sit there all day and study the holy books or teachings and spirituality, and certainly anything prominent in the world. But she knows where it is. She's going to ask God. Because she's a religious woman. She's been living with Yitzchak for 20 years. Whatever junk she learned back at home, she threw that away. So she goes to ask God. She goes to talk to the scholars. And the scholars tell her, you have two nations in your womb, and these two nations upon birth will separate. And she's okay. What in that answer comforted her? And so what we learned is that she thought she had one child. And the problem was that the Medrash teaches that every time she passed by one of these holy places, the child would start to kick. But then she would then pass by a place of idolatry or evil, right? Or some bar or party, and the child would start to kick again. And this would happen over and over again. And she said to herself, listen, if my child is going to kick every time he wants to go to a idolatry house, okay. It's a tragedy to have to bring up such a terrible child. But then if he wants to go to this matters to learn Torah, the yeshiva, that's wonderful too. But to have one child do both, that's crazy. It's not productive to produce an imbalanced, insane human being. So they told her, you have two inside. One is destined for good, one is destined for evil. She's okay with that. It's tragic, but I have one child that will be tragic. It's a sad thing to bear, but I have that comfort of knowing that my other son will, of course, be holy and righteous. Okay, they have babies. Esau comes out first, as you know, claiming the birthright. Yaakov comes out right after that, and life goes on. Except one little detail. They're both very fine boys. Esau, there's nothing wrong. Esau is 6, he's 8, he's 10, he's 12, he's 13, everything's fine. Like, boy. I mean, you ever see bad boys? I never saw a bad boy in my life. Nice boy. All boys, all little boys and little girls are good when they're little. Right? And then Yaakov, of course, a fine boy too. But Rivka seems to have an affinity, a connection to Yaakov. Yitzchak has this love for special attention to Esau. They're playing favorites. And, of course, there's no communication. Yitzchak and Rivka don't talk about it. A very strange relationship. Now, Rivka, for her part, has a reason to love Yaakov more than Esau. Why? She got the message from God. She went to the base medrash, talked to the scholars. Scholars told her that the younger one, the two will separate, and the younger one will be on top, will always be the boss. Barav Yavod Sa'ir, the older one will serve and subservient to the younger one. That's reality. Now you touch with reality in terms of a prophecy. It's pretty axiomatic that that's destiny. The question is, how do we travel the journey to eventually develop a destiny? People ask the question all the time. Does God know everything? Of course. God know what I'm going to do tomorrow? Of course. I have no choice then. Have you heard that question 1,000 times? 1,000 times. So how do you answer the question? The answer is, God may know what you're going to do, but it's your choice. You're going to do. So we know that Yaakov is destined to be the father of the Jewish people, the holy, righteous, great Jacob. We also know Esau is destined for evil, for violence, for everything that's rotten in the world. But the path and the journey towards that is what's of interest to us. We can start the story right here. Okay, they're done. I mean, after all, and then we know we know the truth, what's going to happen. But the journey is extremely important, particularly because the difference between Rivka and Yitzchak as a couple is the fact that she knows the truth and she won't tell him. And he, for his part, who grows up, Yitzchak never saw a television show in his whole life. Yitzchak never saw a gambling casino in his whole life. Rivka grew up on it. So Rivka can see through Esau with piercing eyes, and I can see that the prophecy is true. This kid is destined for evil. And so therefore, she has this love for Yaakov, whom she sees as pure. Yitzchak had no benefit of such prophecies. Yitzchak has never seen anything but goodness and health and love and beauty in the world. He does not see through Esau. He thinks Esau is peachy keen. He thinks Esau is the best thing since sliced bread. Esau is the best. He loves Esau. And now the question is why?
Nice steaks.
Go ahead.
Esau bring him steak. He was a hunter.
Oh,
Feed
boy.
him very well.
Boy, oh, man. Listen, with Esau, every night you were at Pat's. Or you were at Shiloh, the restaurant.
Also was a salesperson. Robert.
I mean, Yitzchak really, wow, every time he comes in and he gives him this good food. So it says in the Torah, he's signing the fit. He gives it hunts food and he puts food in his mouth. So the question is, how do we understand Yitzchak, the holy, righteous man, so introverted, so distant from anything physical, being moved by a steak? And making a decision on who to love by virtue of the steak. How do you understand Yitzchak saying, I love you, Esau, because you feed me so well? You know what? And how do you understand, say, a holy man, a great righteous fellow who says, I really like you very much. You know why? Because you bring me $10,000 a year to my synagogue. I mean, Rabbi, $10,000 to make that big a deal to you? No, it doesn't. I need 100 now. But how do you tempt and satisfy a holy person with food, with drink, with money, with pleasures? He doesn't like this stuff. I don't understand.
You hide your intention.
I don't understand Yitzchak. Yitzchak, you're a holy man. I look up to you, Yitzchak. You're a holy rabbi, Yitzchak. You're a holy man. You're a great man. And how about I do the favor? Okay, take me out to dinner. Come on, that's what it's all about.
I submit to you an idea.
Submit.
I used to do hunting.
Okay.
So when you go hunting, there's a whole dynamic of existence, and so there's the thrill of the hunt. There's the
That's Esau.
No, that's his father too, because his father would also have done that. That's why it was
No, but
enticing to receive.
It's incongruous. It's incongruous with the man who lied on the altar, ready to be slaughtered. It's incongruous. This is not a physical man. This is a holy, totally spiritual man. Rivka may not have quite a communication with Yaakov, with Yitzchak, but she's in awe of this man. He's a holy man. I'm married to someone very, very
But
holy.
he's a man. He's also a practical man.
No, not at all. Not at all. That is all totally different.
Okay. I can be wrong.
You are.
Can I say something with your ball?
With the bull?
Your ball, I can't quite remember what it was, but it's something with the bow that he gets like archery bow for the hunting. That's why it's like when he gets big.
No, again, no. You can't buy Yitzchak.
Oh,
Is there certain things and certain people in the world that are holy and noble and you can't buy them? Are there people that cannot be bought? Yitzchak is one of them, and yet he's bought. And that's the child. That's the thing that this idea gripped me all Shabbos. From Friday night, while I was sitting at the table with my wife, through, I couldn't sleep till midnight with this question. I got up in the morning, went to shul with this question. I came back at the kiddush with this question. I took my nap with this question. I went to Shalashudas with this question. So you want to know what I came up with? I was learning a lecture that had been given by a great Rebbe of mine, the Rosh Yeshiva in New York. His name was Rav Shmuel Berenbaum. Rav Shmuel, blessed memory, was an awesome leader, and I remember him quite well in his teachings and his lectures, and they always inspired me. And I was reading one of them that had been now put into print, and his insight into this question changed the whole perception. Is with us. For as much as Esav, and it gets worse, frankly, before you get the answer, because Esav is doing what? He's bribing his father. He's bribing the holy man. So it's really strange to say I'm bribing him. I mean, he's too holy to be bribed. But he's being bribed by a state. So rabbis want to learn that a hunter, what you're saying is experience, the prey, the opportunity to capture. Part of the capture is the fake out, play possum, to try and not let the animal know you're near, and then boom, got him. In other words, when you want to trap your prey, you trap him with a lot of silence, a lot of lack of disclosure. You do that in business every day. We all do. In business every day, we try to not disclose our real intentions when we're talking to the client. The client says, "Can you do this, can you do that?" And the client, we try to come up with this idea, "Mr. Client, I'm here just for you to help you out." Baloney, you want this gig? Baloney, you want this opportunity to make a $10,000 deal? Well, yeah, I guess you do. But you try to come off as innocent as possible. Now, you could have this idea and get this thing here for $10,000, but in my opinion, I'm a used car salesman, by the way. In my opinion, I suggest you take this one here for $25,000. It'll be the best serving you. And I come up with 25 ideas why this car is the best for you, and it'll cost an extra $15K. And I get a little more commission. How much am I really sincerely for him? How much am I really for me? Maybe it's a little bit of both. But whatever it is, I can say this. I'm no one I can think of, unless you're a big tzaddik, is 100% for the other person. I'd like to see the salesman say, "You know what? For your needs, man, I understand your situation. We really can't do it as well as the neighbor company next to down the street. Go to the other company; they'll help you out much better. It'll be better for you." I like to see a guy do that. Not a million years, right? So we always try to be as sincere as possible, but we all know there's something inside. We all got an agenda. Esav has an agenda too. Esav is trapping his father, hunting his father, sailing his father. Esav is winning his father. Not with stakes.
Nope.
But with what?
Mitzvot.
With attention. That I love you.
Yep.
That I enjoy. That I mean something. And this touches this one. And this Yitzchak says, you're the one. But what about Yaakov? He's this great boy. And the rabbis teach that Esau grows up, goes out there hunting, and he's a man of the world, including a lot of miserable things that go on in the world. He is guilty of murder and stealing and raping and pillaging and destroying and harming and violence. But he comes back to his mom, Dad, I love you, Dad. You're the best dad. And in fact, he would never appear to his father unless he was dressed today. He wore Shabbos clothes. He would never walk into his father in a t-shirt. Never. He walked in, dressed in front of the President of the United States, the father. Treat the father that way. And so Yitzchak was moved by it, not on a personal level. You can't buy Yitzchak. He's a holy man. Yitzchak's moved on because he said, you know something? You may do a lot of nasty things, and I know you do. Don't think I don't see through you. But I love you anyway, because you got potential. Why you got potential? Huh? Because you do this mitzvah on your parents. And it's not just that you do it, it's the way you do it that impresses me. There's a story told about Yosef in prison. Years later, Yosef, the son of Jacob, was in prison in Egypt. And, he was in prison there because the woman that accused him of coming after him, and she did, but he didn't. Anyway, he had to be punished, and he went for other sins that he did. Anyway, he's in prison. And in prison, and he meets these two guys, the baker and the butler, right? They both have dreams, right? And he's able, with his talent, God-given talent, to do what? To interpret the baker and the butler correctly in one night. But we're gonna be free in 3 days. But the baker's gonna die in 3 days. Well, the baker, the butler, gets free in 3 days. Whoa, that's a pretty good job, you'll see. Then he sees the baker is hung on the very same day. Wow, you really are something. Says Yosef to the butler. What's Yosef say to the butler? Please remember me. Get me out of here. I'm here unjustly. I was framed. Get me out of here. So the butler goes out of his way to forget. The butler has it says he didn't remember him, he forgot him. As if to say, I don't want to, I completely forget everything you did for me. That's a pretty nasty thing to do. This butler's a nasty guy. No, question. 2 years later, Paro's dream. What's Paro's dream? Fat cows, skinny cows, right? Okay. Paro, nobody can interpret the dream. He's going nuts, Paro. Right? Everybody knows the story. So up steps the butler and says, 2 years ago, back in prison, I met this guy who lives pretty good with dreams. And I remember him. He was a young fella, Hebrew, and he was a slave, but he did good on dreams. So Paro thinks and says, that's a pretty lousy intro. That's how you introduce somebody? I want to tell you, the guy's got a talent. You should trust him, but he's young, and he's a foreigner, he's a Hebrew, and he's a slave, and a little boy. That's how you introduce somebody. So of course, they bring Yosef in. Yosef interprets the dream properly, as you well know, and the butler gets no credit at all. Zilch. Because why? Because he introduced him in such a stinky way. So question arises, why would he do that? I mean, if you're an opportunist and you know Yosef's going to do the job and do it well, why would you possibly want to shoot yourself in the foot? Says the rabbi in a great lesson in human psychology. Ahava mekalkelet hashura. Sin'ah mekalkelet hashura. Emotions turn persons upside down. Person falls in love with the wrong girl. Life's messed up 5 years later, but he was in love. Because love turns you all upside down. You're not using your head anymore. Hatred does the same thing. Nazis will commit suicide, but they'll do so trying to kill another Jew at the same time. Hatred is, there's no brain when you're filled with hate. No brain when you're filled with love. You gotta use your brains, use your head, make the right decisions. And so this guy filled with hatred says he's a slave, he's a this, he's a that, he's a youth, he's a child. And of course, Yosef comes up and does a great job, and the buckle is remembered for that. But the story is valuable because Rashi teaches that the evil of this man, understand what real evil is that even when he does something good, he does it in a compromised fashion. Evil people do evil, we understand. Even evil people have some good, some redeeming quality, don't they? But if they're really evil, the determination of their evil is that their redeeming quality is compromised and is tainted and stained. That's the evil of evil people. Evil people can't do good if they try. So they do something good and it looks good, but it's stained. It's stained. Yitzchak looks at Esau and he says, "You're an evil guy. But one thing I know about you, when you do something good, you do it well. You don't have a compromise. Therefore, you got potential. Therefore, I'm going to work with you. Therefore, I will not let you go. I love you." And that's what every parent should learn to teach their children, to care for their children, no matter off they are, maybe, no matter on they may be. You got a kid that's off, and you say, "What can I do? My son, he doesn't do this right, he doesn't do that right. My daughter, she's off, she's doing this wrong, making that mistake." And you gotta learn to have what is called an unqualified and uncompromising love for your child. Why? Because you gotta see the potential in the child. What's the potential? The potential is you do everything wrong, but the one thing you do right, you do it well. And that's what Yitzchak saw in Esau. Yitzchak saw that Esau, his level of pleasing his father was not just to win father brownie points. He really did care about his father. And he sensed it, and he felt it. Yaakov also is a good boy. There's nothing wrong. He's the best boy, in fact. He sits and learns all day. He's out there in the fields doing all the evil. He's in yeshiva sitting and learning morality, decency, goodness, right? Hashem, spirituality. But there's something about Yaakov that bothers me, says Yitzchak. That's like that. Says the Torah, Ish Tom is a simple man. Yosef Bahami 6 and 10, he learns Torah all day. Sweet, quiet, innocent, says Yitzchak. He reminds me of me. And I am not dynamic at all. I'm only the conduit to get to the next father, who will be the dynamic one, who will take over the teachings of my father Abraham. So I'm the middle one. I'm the small person in the three of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. I'm the small one. So therefore, I need someone who's going to be, of these two, who's going to be the one who truly take the ball to the next level. That can only be Esau, that can't be Yaakov. But Esau's so evil. But he's got potential to beat it. Why? Because at least the one thing that he does do good, he does well. On the other hand, Yaakov's fine. Yaakov, I love you. In fact, Yaakov has learned all day. Maybe it's destined to be that there should not be three fathers. It's destined that there should be four of them. Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and Esau. Esau, of course, will be the dynamic leader of the Am Yisrael. And Yaakov will be the spiritual advisor, learning Torah, teaching Torah, and then giving advice, like Nasser and Nabi used to give advice to David and Melech. There's room for two leaders. And that's how Yitzchak saw it. Rivka didn't see it that way. Rivka says this guy is evil through and through. I see what he's up to with you. He's going after you and then making you into it and taking care of you and giving you food and everything. She does not see anything good in Esau. She sees him rotten. Yaakov, he's a one. He's not dynamic. He'll become dynamic. And so you have the story, a soap opera story of Yitzchak and Rivka and their two sons.
So, fast forward today, so Esau, when there's an accounting, Esau can never say, you didn't give me an opportunity to have reigns.
Beautiful, beautiful. Furthermore, fast forward to today. Who's right? Yitzchak or Rivka? We all agree? We who are benefits of history look forward and say, well, Rabbi, let's cut to the chase. The end of this, what's the end of the story? The end of the story is Yaakov becomes the father of the Jewish people, and Esau becomes the source of all that's evil in the world. Rivka's right, Yitzchak is wrong.
Oh, Ovadia.
Huh?
Ovadia. Over time,
What
look
about-
over time, says it completely.
Okay, right. And
The
right.
restoration of Israel.
Correct. So the thing I want to share with you last before we adjourn is the path, the short journey of how this became true. How did it eventually develop that, in fact, Esau would fall and Yaakov would take over. And we'll be done. At the end of the, did you listen to the partial yesterday or didn't you?
We sold the birthright.
Oh, well, he sold the birthright. That was a pretty nasty thing to do. I mean, and rabbis talk about it often too, and say, that was a pretty forward thing on Yaakov's part. I didn't think Yaakov was that kind of a wheeler dealer, right? Avram dies. Grandfather Avram dies. Yitzchak is sitting Shiva. It's the funeral. Yaakov attends his grandfather's funeral. Esau is out there in the fields having a grand old time. He's rocking and rolling in the bars and cafes, right? With every evil that he can think of. Huh?
Brother.
Right, at the time that he should be at his grandfather's. I mean, low life, real low life. Okay, meantime, Yaakov, the dutiful there, he's a good son, and he's taking care of his father and giving his father food. That's what a son does when the father needs food, because if he has to have a meal after the funeral, right? That's the halacha. I mean, my son shouldn't be working. He bought me food right after the funeral from my mother. So the Yaakov was a good son. The day that Avram died, he was 175 years old. His son Yitzchak lived to 180. Avram was supposed to live to 180 as well. But Hashem took 5 years off his life because he did not want to let Avram see that Esau would start to be evil. You should see that grandson going off the wrong way. So he died 5 years ago. But let's remember, how old was Avram when he had Yitzchak? The miraculous 100, correct? Which means that if Yitzchak is 60, when he has his twins, grandfather Avram was 160. If grandfather Avram dies at 175, that means Yitzchak's 75 and the twins are 15. 15, which is 2 years off the bar mitzvah, let's say. Now they're off in that path. On that very day, Avram, Yaakov continues and makes his decision. I want my future in Shiva, and I want my future out there in the business world where I can cutthroat everybody and become a millionaire. That's how it happens. And Yitzchak doesn't see through this at all. Still hopes for the potential. And so a few years later, of course, the one other act, unusual act, is that, of course, Yaakov says to him as he comes in, oh, with a good food. That's no, whoa, that's great food. You know, guys, I mean, it's exhausted. I worked so hard today. I was with so many women, and I had so much gambling, I had so much drugs today, and I had so much, I need some food. I'm ready to pass out, you know. I can't even put a spoon to my mouth. Give me food. Yaakov says, "You want food? You want food? Okay. Sell me the birthright. You were born first. You know you don't deserve it. I do. I want it." So of course, he's a new thing I care about being the firstborn and the Jewish people carrying on the legacy. Think I care about that stuff? Come on. Give me the food. Yaakov says, "Swear to me." He says, "Okay, I'll swear. I don't care." His true colors are coming out. Okay, so he gives him the food. And the rabbis teach, and the Torah teaches a very amazing thing. The rabbis say, the Torah says, quote unquote, right in the black and white of the Torah. He ate. He drank. He got up and he went away. Why would the Torah say these 4 words? Obviously, if he's in a stupor, if he needs the food, obviously he ate, obviously he drank, obviously he got up, obviously he went away. The answer is because then right after that it says, then he disgraced the birthright. The fact that Yaakov bought it from him under duress could always be challenged in a court of law. So Yaakov says, "Okay, you swore to me, but now that you're full of food and drink, protest. And if you protest, you get it back. I was under duress. It's a sale that I would not have made with a sound mind. It's not fair." He walked away. And that's when he sold it. So Yaakov, for the first time in his life, is displaying some dynamo. You want to be a leader of Jewish people? It's not enough to sit in yeshiva and learn. You got to get out there and fight the wars with the Am Yisrael and be a leader and show the people what to do. You got to stand up. So Yitzchak says years later, "I'm old. I'm blind. Blind not just physically. I'm blind to the world. I've always been blind to the world." Rabbis want to teach that. Actually, his eyes became blind because at the time that he was on the altar, as Abraham was ready to slaughter him, the angels began to cry and their tears went into his eyes and blinded him. In the event, so he said, "I'm blind. I know I've never seen an evil thing in my life. I've never seen a harmful thing in my life. I only see good. I see Esau is good. Esau, it's time for me to give the bracha over to the new mantle, to give over the mantle of the new leadership to the next generation. Without they give him some food, I give it a bracha. Why does he tell you to get the food? Because that's the one thing he does good. That's the one mitzvah he does good. And you can't get a bracha without doing a mitzvah. You haven't done anything decent in the last 50 years of your life. I mean, I know you're a piece of garbage, but you have that one unique quality. Do care for your father. Go out there, give me some food, I'll give you a bracha. And maybe that bracha that I give you will do what? Will give you the vision to become the next father of Am Yisrael. Who overhears this aside? Rivka hears this. Rivka jumps into action. There's a dynamic woman for you. She tells us, "When Yaakov, you sneak in and get the bracha in this place." Yaakov says, "No, me. Timmy, Yaakov, not me. I can't do that. He's going to curse me. He'll find out who I am. He'll say, who are you?" I'll say, "Yaakov." And I'll say, "Esau." He'll say, "You're a liar." He'll curse me. Take it easy. I'll give you some food. You bring it in, it won't know the difference. I got enough spices in my arsenal. He'll go, he won't know the difference. In the meantime, if he touches you, I'll take the skins of the goats that we slaughter for the food, put it on your hands. I'll never know the difference. Yaakov was scared out of his wits. This is the scariest moment of his life. You understand? You're going to be caught red-handed by your father as a liar and cursed forever. Or get through this with the help of God, because your mother said it's the right thing to do. I wouldn't do this on my own. My mother told me to do it. She goes in there and he says, "Hello, Father. Please arise. I have the food for you. And what would you think Esau's response would be? He said, oh, welcome, Esau, right? Expecting Esau. But instead he says, who are you? Why does he say, who are you? When he's blind. A voice. That voice. And when Esau heard the voice, he heard, and the rabbi showed that when Yaakov comes in, he says, please, Father, arise. When Esau comes in a little bit later, he says, Father, arise, and he forgets the word please. The difference between one word, he says, please, he doesn't. He's refined, he's a piece of garbage. And so, he says, who are you? Are you my son Esau? He says, I am. I'm not saying I am Esau, I say I am. Yaakov can't bring himself to lie. I am. Well, this is tipping him off. This is getting Yitzchak very worried over here. How'd you get us for grace? Hashem help me. Oh, Hashem help me. Hashem. Esau hasn't used the word Hashem in 50 years. Come close, I want to touch you. What does he say, the classic? Come in the classic, folks, come on. What does he say?
The hand of the son and the voice of the voice.
Have you ever heard that in your life?
Oh,
Right? But understand the beauty of the classic. He says voice first and hand second.
how do you smell?
Strong sense.
The voice is the voice of Yaakov. But the hand is the hand. Which means what? I know Yaakov. Yeah. Says you're putting on a rules. Because I say, the one that he says first is the one that he really identifies with. It's just this voice probably is giving me trouble. And the hand that's giving me a little trouble. I mean, I tend to go clear out and say, I know you're Yaakov. The voice of Yaakov is unmistakable. Unmistakable. Okay, you're throwing me off with the hand. Then he says, I don't recognize the hand, but I will bless you in it. Why does Yitzchak, fully aware that Yaakov is in the midst of deceit, bless the deceitful Yaakov? What, the right?
Because he had the courage to do it and it's a blessing.
Oh, yeah, he was kind. I have to admit, he's kind of amused. Yitzchak's amused. I agree. Yitzchak is thinking, Yaakov. Remember, I'm blind, I can't see. It's Yaakov. Yaakov is doing all this.
It is full bucket.
I'm like, whoa, Yaakov. I'm pretty impressed there. You got the guts to do this. This is pretty wow. Wow, had that. Well. Why did he bless Yaakov? Because he's impressed, like you say, with Yaakov's gumption, with Yaakov's chutzpah, right? What do you say?
Maybe because he knows Rivka, he knows that's not what Yaakov would do, so he knows it's not Yaakov.
He knows his wife's
He
up.
knows his wife.
His wife, okay, I've never heard that commentary. It's a good commentary. It's a woman's commentary. but I like it. Yeah, it's a good thought. I didn't really think about it, but it's a great thought. Maybe he thinks, oh, maybe my wife. Yeah, maybe there is something to this after all. But there's something else that's going on inside Yaakov, Yitzchak's brain. Remember Yitzchak, the man who was on the altar, ready to die for God, and the man that's so silent and so introverted and can barely say a few words and knows nothing of evil, total holiness, who loves Yitzchak because he's blind. He loves Esau because he's blind to Esau's evil. What's on now?
He sees the light.
Say it again.
He sees the light.
Say it loud.
He sees the light.
He finally sees. He says to himself, if Yaakov is doing all this, and add to it that his mother's up to it as well, and Yaakov is glaringly displaying the difference between himself and his brother, and it's obviously clear that my love for Esau has been improperly misplaced. I've been wrong all along. This is a self-awareness that overcomes a person who goes, oh my God, how close have I come to making the most monumental mistake in world history? Oh my God, how close have I come to wrongdoing? And it's like you're standing at a cliff, but about ready to fall. Oh my God, how did I come to this? When I get to this, there's no doubt. Rivka's right. There's no doubt. Yaakov's the one. There's no doubt. Esau is wrong. Esau, in fact, is as evil as you can get.
So how comes that then when Isaac comes and asks for the blessing, Isaac is to tell him, I already blessed you, like he deceived him that, or.
Okay, hold your question. It's a great question. Hold it. What goes on in terms of a man's self-discovery is something that nobody can tell. Rivka never told him about Esau because he wouldn't makabel, he wouldn't accept it. Rivka, he could never accept the problems with Esau. He just couldn't see it. He needs to discover it on his own. Why doesn't Yaakov go straight in and say, look, Father, Esau was the wrong one? Why doesn't Yaakov go straight out? I can tell you what he did on the day of grandfather's Avram's funeral. You can't tell him. You can't tell a person. The person will figure it out. You just can't tell him. But you set up the circumstances and the situation in which he can figure it out. And the light comes on to him. Oh my God. I'm almost blessed, the most vicious human on earth in history. And so at this point of enlightenment, he knows the voice is the voice of Yaakov, unmistakable. I know who you are. And the hands were roots, I understand that too. And guess what? You are blessed, and I'm going to bless you with everything I got, everything that there is to be blessed with. But the key blessing of all is that you, from now on, will run the show. Remember that. You will run the show of this world. It's up to you. Follow the mitzvahs. The Jewish people always do on time. And you will never lose. And never be home. Abandon the mitzvahs. Abandon the mission. Abandon God. And you will be confronted and hurt and harmed by your brother Esau. And that's the bracha. And out Yaakov goes. In comes Esau. Here I am, Father. Let's go. Very unrefined, certainly not a quintessential yeshiva student. And he says, who are you? This clarifies the mistake. And all of a sudden, this begins to shudder. And he says, he says, oh my God, I almost blessed the wrong guy. Thank God I blessed Yaakov, made the right decision. In other words, the way Esau ran into the place, the way Esau came in, was in such a manner in which so unrefined, he could see over the top, this guy's a grizzly bear. He's a dump, and belongs in a dump. I'm gonna give a brother to the dump. He said, no, your brother came in there early. And it says, in deceit, Rabbis, Rashi determined Rashi to find deceit of the sins. Wisdom. You're the wise guy, you're the worldly guy, yeah, smarter than you. He put you in his pocket. He took care of you. You're the big shot. You're the worldly guy. You're the millionaire. You're the person who doesn't mind hurting anybody who gets in your way. Guess what? This little white fellow, he outsmarted you. He beat you to the punch. He got the bracha. He's so crying, give me one bracha. Now that cry may be a cry of sincerity. There might have been something in Simon that the goodness that Yitzchak used to see in him. Maybe he's crying. I'll give you at least one bracha. I'll give you a bracha. The bracha is that whenever there is a going down of Yaakov, in which he's not following the Torah, you will be on top of it. But if he's keeping the Torah, you will follow him forever. Yeah.
Going back just a bit, when Rivka was having the problems while she was pregnant, the parsha makes it seem like she spoke directly to Hashem. But you said she went to the.
Base Medrash. Right. I mean, basically, the thing that Hashem is the shot that she went to seek out the scholars to give her to be for her. Now, I mean, at least that's what Rashi says. I mean, you could say technically what you're saying, but Rashi seems to indicate she went through the scholars. But either way, I mean, the connection was clear to Hashem. She knew it, and she accepted it as absolute truth. So she knew what's going to happen. She knew the end of the story. It's going to play out. And it played out. So now, of course, Esau proves everyone right by saying, okay, as soon as I get the chance, I'm going to kill Yaakov. So, of course, Yaakov sent away. Just one last point to the end of the story is that, and we're going to learn this Thursday, how Yitzchak, how Yaakov confronts Esau years later. And in that confrontation years later, there is great fear on Yaakov's part. He feels he didn't, he might not merit God's protection. But Yaakov, you're a good man, you're the right man. You're a dynamo that Yitzchak was afraid you wouldn't be, you became. And you're the one with complete, clear, spiritual insight and direction of righteousness and goodness. You're the right man. What's your problem? I may have made some sins. That's not like the prophet said. What did you do wrong? Well, the one thing I did wrong is that I didn't live in Israel. And Esau did. Yeah, because of that. I mean, we have Jews living in America. Cities living in Israel. Maybe they come to our rehab because of that alone. Besides, he was there still taking care of his father. I was away. I never had a chance to honor my father. And so Hashem answered him and said, those issues that you could not control because of the situation. However, you still have not abandoned the mitzvahs. You kept the mitzvahs, and therefore you won't be on top of it. And so in the confrontation, which is fascinating, not time for now, what is left at the bottom of the end of the confrontation after it finishes up is they pause. It's what's coming the confrontation, was going to violence and war and Esau and Yaakov. And we find some interesting how Esau all of a sudden maybe gets a moment of compassion. The end of the story, Yaakov says to Esau, I have to go now. And in that having to go now, there was this implication, you can come with. Remember, I'm the president. I offer you the vice president. Remember, I'm the Jew. I'm on top of the world. I've been so blessed by Abraham and Isaac. I am Jacob. I run the show in this world. So is the blessing. You're not, yeah, you've done a whole lot of evil, that's true. But my father, Isaac, always had this love for you, saw your potential. I'll give you a chance. Potential's still there. You can be my vice president. And Esau says, thanks, but no thanks. I prefer a life of evil and harm and mayhem and misery and suffering for others and to be secondary to the emperor. And I'll take my chances. When you get messed up, I'll get on top of you. And of course, in years to come, the Jews messed up twice, lost 2 temples, and were destroyed by the Romans in the Second Temple, who were the descendants of Esau. Descendants of Esau reared their ugly head 100 years ago in Nazi Germany. And they went down with us. Why? Do you have any idea how horrific the assimilation of Jews was in Germany? Do you have any idea how much Jews seek to be German and to abandon their Judaism? In the highest of percentages, 9 out of 10 Jews did not want to be Jewish, they wanted to be Germans. So the Germans came about. Just exactly the way Isaac said the prophet to be. Jews who remain loyal and faithful to their heritage will not only survive, but will thrive and lead the world. And the enemy shall fall. But make no mistake about it, he is the enemy. The moment that Yaakov left the confrontation with Esau, and Esau said, I'll go my way, that's when anti-Semitism was born. He could have come with us. Secondarily, and well, listen, have a nice life. Does everybody have to be president? Everybody have to be CEO of a company? Nothing wrong with being vice president. Nothing wrong with joining with us. We teach good things and teach good Torah and love of humanity, love of build a family, and have a good life. The moment he decided that's not good enough for me, I want to be the top of that, which of course Isaac did not let him have, because that wasn't his job, because that wasn't what he. And Isaac saw prophetically, he will never fulfill the potential that he had. This beautiful potential of being what? Of being so good to his father. And you know what it really means, by the way? It's a very interesting concept of being good to your father. It's not necessarily the mitzvah of honoring parents. It's any mitzvah. Any mitzvah that you do, if you do it well, is considered as if you did 613. You just pick on, now of course we're not saying to forget all the other mitzvahs. Well, I do Rosh Hashanah really well, so forget you do. No, of course not. That's so. But honing on something that's yours. This is my mitzvah. This is something I really want to do. This is something I enjoy. This is something that gives me, I want to do it at the very best level, at the level that says that I put my whole into it. I want nothing in return. I want nothing in return but the joy of being able to accomplish this mitzvah. That is what Esau, is what Yitzchak saw in Esau. Any kind of person can do that, no matter how far a person veers off from the Torah, if he does that one mitzvah perfectly, he can always come back. You see a person who is far away from the Torah, far away from mitzvahs, he has no relationship with the shul, he has no relationship with Jewish people. You see, he acts like a goy, he behaves like a goy, but he does one mitzvah. But that one mitzvah he does super duper duper. That person can come back home. And parents have to see that in their children. See a child, he's off, he's messed up, he's this, he's that, he's goofy, he's not going to shul, he's not davening, he's daydreaming. At that point, you see, what did you do good? You're doing something good. And that one thing that he does good, if he really zooms in on it, and then at the very best, you're going to get that attention. Never give up on such a child. Never. And Esau had this one potential, and Yitzchak saw it. But at the end, he blew it. He blew it because he could not accept. The ego could not accept to be secondary and supportive. And so that's why we have anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism born out of jealousy. And of course, you know, have all these organizations that throughout America, California. Let's figure out, let's get a whole inquiry and build a committee and get 25 people to sit down and discuss in scholarly manner the root causes of anti-Semitism. Folks, you're not within such a meeting. It's obvious in the dog. It's clear. Anti-Semitism was born when Asa could not accept his secondary role. And a lot of Jews feel pretty, you know, oh man, that sounds very racist. What are you, top banana? Yes, yes. We are top banana. That's what Isaac said. Now, person says, I'd like to convert the Jewish people. They want to join the top bananas. That's what they want to be part of the royalty of the world. Well, super. Another person says, you know, I don't have all that strength and courage or situation which I can do this, but I would like to be supportive of the Jewish people, a non-Jew who loves the Jewish people, loves God, supportive of the Jewish people, and always being there for Israel and so forth. Great, a great role, a beautiful role. You've fulfilled a tremendous sense of your destiny. And so these are positive ways to handle it. The negative ways to say, I'm going to skip those changes or something. And that's your root cause of anti-Semitism. All starts in this parsha. When the prophecy came and said, you got two nations in your stomach. One nation will go this way, and the other nation will go that way. They will not work together. And furthermore, it is the older one, the more populous one, the more powerful one, the ace of the great powers in the world that will serve the young and the Jacob and the supposedly insignificant small minority of Jews. That is the destiny of the world. So I wanted to share that with you today because I thought about it all Shabbos. I didn't stop thinking about it till hopped up. Anyway, so thank you for listening. Have a great week.